morning. It's Mike from Cross Country Mortgage, and it's time for your Monday morning mortgage update for the week of January the 29th. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I had a great weekend. Three things happened to me pretty cool this weekend. Number one, I did a mountain bike race with a bunch of friends and local high school kids, and we got muddy. I mean, we got muddy to the point where we had to hose ourselves off with garden hoses. This picture doesn't do it justice. We had mud everywhere, but it was a great Saturday race. Had a lot of good connection with people, and the kids did fantastic. And I got to ski on Sunday. Great warm weather, kind of spring skiing in January. You know, we all have these, what we call Indian winters, Indian summers, whatever you want to call them, where we get this 75-degree weather, this very warm weather in January, and it gives us that false sense of security that the cold isn't coming, but it was here and it's coming again. And that is fantastic because we need more snow on the mountain. And then our Niners won. Man, they pulled off a great comeback victory, and they're on their way to the Super Bowl. So great weekend. So I always try to give you tools, tips, tactics, things that are going to happen in the market so that you can have those intelligent conversations with your buyers and sellers. What happened last week and what happened this week. So let's talk about last week. Last week, pretty flat, a slight improvement to the market, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we can see this graph. It's a trading of mortgage-backed securities. When the graph's going up, that means money's flowing into the bond market, and rates are getting better. When the graph's going down, that means money's flowing out of the bond market. Rates are getting worse. And you can see last week, really not much of a movement, a little bit of volatility, but it just ended the week pretty flat. And we've really seen flat rates since the middle of December of last year. Really haven't seen any change. I don't try to get into those conversations with trying to guess what rates are going to be with my clients. You can only control the controllables. And unless somebody's in a contract, you really can't guarantee what kind of a rate they're going to get. And what I do tell them is, and show them, is where rates were and where they are now and what the trend is. And we can see that rates peaked at the end of October, over 8%. And now we've had big improvements by 1% for the most part. Obviously, that depends on the program and the borrower, the FICO scores, and so many other factors. So the great thing is that rates are trending better. They're not just going to go down like a slide. They're going to have some blips along the way. It's like some moguls in a ski hill. There's ups and downs, but overall, the rates are going to improve in 2024. And one of the reasons that the rates got a little better last week is because core inflation was under 3%, and was the first time it was under 3% since December of 2022. Now remember, inflation is the death of mortgage rates. So this is really good news. It doesn't mean inflation's low. It's still high. The Federal Reserve is still very concerned about inflation. That's what they're trying to do is keep those rates up to fight inflation. And once that inflation goes down, we're going to start to see lower mortgage rates. But the trend is definitely there. We're seeing that trend, and that's great news moving forward for our housing market. So let's talk about what we're looking at this week. The Fed meeting is this week, the first meeting of the year. Refunding debt, really big issue that not a lot of people are talking about, and a big jobs week. So let's talk about the Federal Reserve, the FOMC meeting. They're meeting the first time on Tuesday. They'll end their meeting on Wednesday. Jerome Powell will come out on Wednesday afternoon and have a press conference, and he'll basically tell us, are we going to cut more rates? Is the Fed going to cut rates in 2024 like they indicated in the December meeting? And are they going to cut 6-7 times, or are they going to cut 2 or 3 times? So the bond traders that trade money in the bond market think it's going to be 6 times. A lot of other conservative people think it's going to be 2 or 3. But everybody agrees the Fed has stopped raising rates. This is good. And now we just need to know how much they're going to cut. So we'll hear from Jerome Powell Wednesday afternoon, and we will absolutely get some indication on what's happening and what's going to happen moving forward. Very important meeting this week. Second thing is refunding debt. So I want you to think of refunding debt like you taking $10,000 in debt, you're putting it on a zero interest credit card, and you're going to pay that bill, but not pay any interest on it for a year. And then when that credit card starts to charge you interest because they had some special, you're just going to roll that debt over to another 0% credit card. And again and again and again, it's a shell game. You're basically kicking the can down the road. You're not getting out of debt. You're just moving debt from one structure to another structure. And that's what our U.S. government does. We just move debt from one vehicle to another vehicle, restructure, rebrand that debt, and it makes it look like we are getting ahead, but we're really not. We're just kicking the can down the road. And that's a conflict that we're having right now between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. Now, the Treasury's policy is for money production. They make money. They pay the bills that run the government, and they pay our debt. They restructure our debt. The Federal Reserve's job is to conduct monetary policy, regulate our banks, basically do things to keep the U.S. financial system stable, okay? And the Treasury wants lower interest rates because when they restructure that debt, moving it from one card to the next, they want those rates low so it doesn't cost you and I, taxpayers, more money. And it doesn't cost the Federal Reserve more money. The Federal Reserve, they actually want rates up right now because if the rates are up, that's fighting inflation. And so the Federal Reserve and the Treasury are at odds. They want two different things. Who's going to win? That's the big key. And they're refunding and restructuring this debt this week. So how that comes out, $4 trillion in debt, by the way, the largest percentage of debt that we've ever had, even in wartime. So this is a big, big deal. We know that we are in a big debt situation with the U.S. government, and they're going to restructure $4.1 trillion in debt this week. So where does all this land? Is this restructured, and how does the market react to it? Paying a lot of attention to this happening Tuesday and Wednesday. And then the last thing is jobs. Bunch of jobs data coming out this week. Are more jobs going to be added? If more jobs are added, bad for rates. Is income going to go up? That's bad for rates. That's inflationary. Is unemployment going to go up? That's good for rates. So we'll be paying a lot of attention really through Friday, starting tomorrow through Friday on all the jobs data. So very volatile week. Very volatile week. A lot of data coming out that can move the markets up or down. We're starting today floating because it's really a no news day. And we're going to be very, very trigger happy to lock rates starting tomorrow, depending on what happens with the market. So if you have any questions about mortgage rates, definitely reach out to me. If you know somebody can benefit from this video, forward it to them. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. And I hope you have a great, productive week. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.